Welcome back. We're here to preview Saturday evening's Premier League game between Man United and West Bromwich Albion. Matt will start with United. Last time out, go to Everton, get beat 3-0 and a very disappointing performance.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I think you could tell from that. I think Louis Van Gaal said before the game it was strange. Warm-up, he felt that there was a lack of intensity in the warm-up and he didn't have a good feeling about the game, which is obviously strange. And to go 1-0 down as early as it happened, and the counter-attacking threat from Everton was evident all game, but you worry about defensively, and McNair and Blind, you're asking one of them to put a challenge in on the edge of the box. No one does. He dances through and puts it in. And United had a lot of the ball, a lot of passing and probing, but just never enough, real cutting edge in the final third. And the second goal, the most bizarre thing about the second goal is that they've been warned on numerous occasions. I think it was the third corner in quick succession that came in, and they've been sort of, Fellaini had a couple of good headers, but then Stones gets in and nods it in. And to take Fellaini off at half time, I think was a good decision, because he's been booked and you can just tell he was going to get himself sent off. It wasn't the right. Fellaini didn't do well going back to Everton. Rooney never does well going back to Everton. It's like playing with 10 men when they play over him. So disappointing. Obviously, again at 2-0, Falcao comes on the second half. Di Maria eventually comes on. Same old story. Not enough sort of cutting edge in the final third. The third goal was obviously quite strange as well in itself. I think Lukaku's got to be given offside there. He's interfering with play. The fact that the defenders have stopped there, but Morales runs through is obviously miles onside because of the way the ball was played, and scores them 3-0. So I think 3-0 is a little harsh, in terms of the game. I think Everton did deserve to win that game. United were poor, but in terms of 3-0 is quite a solid score, isn't it, to be sort of battering someone at home. But United weren't good enough in that game, and I think it's not the worst thing in the world for them to get beaten like that, because I think it just wakes a few people up. Say, look, we're not well, they fancy themselves finish top four, but we need to start improving, because they might believe some of their own hype when they beat Liverpool and Tottenham, etc. So it could be a blessing in disguise, but it was a poor result.
Definitely. The last two games, both away from home, Chelsea and Everton, 2 defeats and no goals either. So that's disappointing from them. And if you look at the top four, they're still only 2 points behind City and Arsenal in second and third. They're 65 points, obviously 12 points behind Chelsea, a long way behind front runners. But in terms of the top four race, results went their way over the weekend. Really, Liverpool had 2 games this weekend against West Brom and Hull, only 1 point out there. So if they'd got all 6 in those games, they'd only be 2 points behind Man United. The top four race would be really on, but Liverpool dropping those points. Southampton and Spurs played each other and got a draw, so they took points off each other. And United now, they look pretty safe for a Champions League finish. 7 points clear of Liverpool, and Spurs 8 clear of Southampton. So one of those sides would have to go on they'd have to win all of their remaining games. United would have to have a really poor finish of the season to drop out. So at the moment they look pretty safe for the top 4 finish, but overall form, they had 6 wins in a row, but then the 2 recent defeats away from home. So certainly been better at home than away this season. But if they get a top 4 finish, given where they were last season under Moyes, you have to say it has been a success overall. But I think you mentioned briefly there the players that came off the bench. It's so interesting to see Falcao, Di Maria and Van Persie all starting on the bench in a game. I know Rooney has sort of had a decent sort of couple of months, and he's the captain, so he's always going to play. But for all 3 of those, Di Maria especially, the amount of money they spent on him and how he's not been a regular starter of late, that is just astonishing for me, considering how good he was for Real Madrid last season. Just very, very surprising. But on the whole, still a decent campaign.
Yeah, it's been decent. I think the home form's been a real plus as well. 14 wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats, one of which was the opening day of the season. Since then, won 14 and 16. The other one defeat was against Southampton. That was a poor breakaway goal. But apart from that, they've been very good. Away from home has not been the best, but they've been really good at home. 14 wins is a very solid number to post at this stage of the season. The interesting thing for this game would be team selection in terms of injuries. They've got obviously Jones and Rojo still out. I think they might be out for that game. I hoping Michael Carrick will be back for this game. But obviously a massive plus. He's such a big player. But thinking about Van Persie maybe coming back in, got a couple of goals for under 21s. It was a strong under 21s team. Again, as I played Pereira as well, and a couple of really good goals from Van Persie, good finishes. And I just think he's got something to offer. He's not been the best this season, but coming back in and talking about Falcao, and I think his race is run now. He's had chances. People talking about him not having enough chances, but I remember obviously covering Spanish football. I remember watching him at Atletico Madrid, and you just couldn't believe a player could be that good in the final third. He was an absolute menace to defensive, but when he came in, it just hasn't worked. Sometimes you just have to say, good guy. He's a good guy behind the scenes. From what people say, he's obviously got a good attitude, but just hasn't worked. And sometimes you just have to cut things loose. And I don't think they could sign him for 40-odd million. That'd be incredible. But this game, I'd be surprised if sort of he changed it too much. I think it will be Rooney up front again. Van Persie maybe coming off the bench, because I still don't think he's had enough football. Van Gaal probably doesn't think he's had enough football. But if they can get Di Maria in the team, maybe a bit more invention and just a bit more sort of excitement going forward. Because even in the wins, it's obviously been great football, but at times it's been a bit laboured and a bit slow in the final third. So hopefully for this one it'll be a bit different.
Yeah, you mentioned Falcao there. Certainly when he had that amazing season at Atletico, I thought he was the 3rd best player in the world. By far the best striker, and it's surprising yes, and you would have thought his game as well, he'd do well in the Premier League. Physical player, good in the air, works really hard. You would have thought he might have been tailored to it, but it hasn't quite worked out. And like you say, it would be really, really surprising if United do, go on and sign him this summer, given that they've still got Van Persie, Rooney, you've got James Wilson coming. Anyway, moving on to West Brom now. They're looking fairly safe in the Premier League table. 13th, sitting there, 37. 7 points clear of Sunderland. Sunderland do have a game in hand, so the gap, that could be shortened. But last time out, hosted Liverpool, out of form. Liverpool, they weren't too good. It wasn't the best of games at all at the Hawthorns. Liverpool probably edged it. If you say one side deserved to win it more, it was Liverpool, but neither side threatened too much, to be honest. And West Brom had the odd chance, couldn't quite take them. But in terms of the last two games, they beat Palace away from home in the game before that. That was a good win for them. There's 2 clean sheets in a row, which is what sort of Pulis was so good at in this sort of first couple of months with the club. But recently, sort of in the last month or so, they've been letting in a few goals, a few defeats. But the last two clean sheets, 4 points out of 6 against Palace and Liverpool. That's decent haul from them in the last two. And like I said, up to 13th. And at the moment, they're looking pretty safe.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that Palace one. I think the Palace one was the big one, wasn't it? The big one to win, like I say, because 3 points has probably put them safe, and it's pretty lucky they're safe because the last few games they played Newcastle away. Newcastle will be leading the points. Played Chelsea at home and Arsenal away last two, so they wouldn't have been going into those games, wanting to get something from the game. Like I say, 7 points above the bottom three as it stands, and I think away from home it's been a bit disappointing. They mentioned the Palace game they won there, but only scored 11 goals on the road this season, which is the fewest in the league. So that's a little bit surprising from West Brom. Got goals in the team. Verheyen, obviously Brown Day had a good spell, gone off the ball a little bit. Nietzsche doesn't really score enough goals, but decent presence up there. I think this might be a nice game for United because West Brom, like I say, battling. You don't really want to play the teams at the bottom battling, but West Brom probably safe and not too much to play for. They can't really push into the top half, so they're probably going to finish in around the sort of 13th, 14th and stay in the league, build for next season. It's obviously good for them.
I think Pulis will certainly say to his players though that this is far from over. Like you say, West Brom, United, Chelsea and Arsenal, 3 of the last 4. That game at Newcastle, who have just been woeful recently, that's going to be the big one because both of those sides are sort of on the cusp of securing safety. West Brom, like I said, 37 points. They're now 3 points from that 40-point mark, the golden 40-point mark. So I think that's the big one for them. And like I said, I think United might just have the psychological edge here, certainly, to the watch score prediction.
Yeah, I think you've got to fancy United. Like I say, West Brom, not too much to play for. I think they could lose every game and still be okay the way it's working out. So they'll be all right. And United keen to be good to winning ways. You can't see them losing 3 games in a row. I don't think it'll be comprehensive. It really is. But I think United will win this 2-0.
2-0. I'm going to go for a 2-goal margin as well, but I'm going to say 3-1. So both fancy United to win this one. Thanks for watching.